Welcome everyone. Today I have a new guide for Diablo 4 Season 8 for leveling and also for builds. Looking behind me, you can see I have prepared some notes as in terms of what are the best ways and so checklists while leveling in Season 8, together with what are the key aspects that can help you break through to Torment 1 all the way to Torment 4, and what are the additional tips and also ways of leveling. On the second part of this video, I have prepared a number of different builds which I have filtered and think it's the best for each of the class to start leveling using those particular builds. You can see that I have filtered a lot of builds from the max roll, coming from Diablo 4 builds over here, coming from abilities, and also coming from the Chinese builds over here. There's some very popular build that is going to be amazing for leveling, and myself personally, I have decided to select the Minion Necromancer as a leveling build, which you can also find in the links below. So we'll also be learning some builds from Rob and also a number of different builds for each of the classes. And what I recommend is using this particular video and using the timestamps for the first part as to general leveling information, and then go on to the second part for a brief understanding of using different builds for leveling for each of the class. So coming over to our first part, in order to understand leveling for Diablo 4, it is actually quite straightforward. Compared to most of the other games, you're not here to do the story. You're here to get to level 60, then Torment 1, all the way to Torment 4. And this will take you into the pits, of course. So, as you start the new seasonal character, there's a few things you want to remember. Firstly, it is recommended to play on normal difficulty, especially the increased difficulty at this moment in the game. It is much more time consuming if you try anything else without any gears initially. Later on, as you get better gears, it may be worth it, but most of the case, most players will be playing on normal. It is quite important to find a populated zone with more players that is farming for experience together. After starting your character, you want to have the checklist to get your pet for auto-looting, especially auto-looting gold and also additional materials, and then you want to have your mercenary if you have your expansion available. And having the mercenary means you can leveling up report and also getting additional reward. After all of those, you should be starting your green seasonal quest and then unlocking the boss powers as you progress. In terms of the seasonal theme, the seasonal apparition incursion will allow you to fight different bosses, collect different boss powers. And then it is very important to mention this part. One of the fastest way to level in Diablo 4 is actually joining a group into a populated zone. I have added a link to the Discord I usually use. So this is the Diablo 4 Center, and there's tons of players looking for groups, making groups, and making a very populated zone that you can pretty much stand there and get free levels from level 1 to level 60. So most of the players will be trying to level all the way to level 60 using those zones on different difficulties. And I think most players will start on normal difficulty. So once you join this zone, you can be adding players as friends and then grouping together. And then you can leave the party or stay in the party for bonus experience. And this is how most players will be leveling from level 1 to level 60 in groups and also in populated event zones. Now during this time, there's a number of reminders. The first thing is, after level 50 to level 25, you can look into finishing your class quests. This will be a great break from the zones because these can get a little boring because you're doing the same thing. At the same time, you can also look into Helltide or harder difficulties for leveling alternatives in the populated zone. So if there's a lot of players doing the Helltide at the same time, it is great to join in as a raid of group of players, and this pretty much kills most of the monsters on the map. It is also worth it to consider leveling by clearing out Stronghold after level 50. From what I hear most of the content creators are saying, on normal difficulty is the best way to clear the Stronghold because they don't provide bonus experience on other difficulties. And finally, you should be looking to collect your key aspects for your build and also clearing out dungeons and also finding legendary jobs. And this is actually going to help you to get into Torment 1, then all the way to Torment 4. Now, because this part is quite important, I do want to highlight some of the key aspects that can help any class and also any build. For your own class and also build, of course, you should research into the leveling build, which we'll talk about on the second part. So, here is aspect of disobedience. This can be found in the House of Damned in Mattjestic, and this is a great way to increase your armor. For most of the classes, you can deal decent damage, and survivability is essential to clear the pit all the way to pit 10 for Torment 1, and then you can start killing bosses and start doing more event. So as Spark of Disobedience, if you don't have it, by the time you need some survivability, you can come over to Hell of Dam to clear this one. On the topic of getting more armor, you can also find Juggernaut aspects. And finding this one means that you'll have tons of more armor, and losing a bit of evade is not a big deal. And finally, there's aspect of might. This can be found in Dark Ravine with dry steps. So if your build can use basic attack, this is a great way to reduce your damage taken by 20%. Almost every time I level with my build, I'm looking for those 3 aspects. Of course, there's tons of offensive aspects. You can also search over here with different offensive aspects, utility aspects, or resource aspects. This can also help depending on the build. And sometimes you can even have great mobility aspects. For example, for the rogue, I do believe there is one over here, which I'll show you guys. And movement. For example, for the rogue, there is the cheats aspect. You can take less damage from crowd control enemies and also gain bonus movement, which is also great for leveling. So make sure you guys use the links below, and I'll have those available for you to search, and you can see where you can find those legendary aspects if they can be unlocked. And I think this is the biggest part. Because you're leveling in groups, getting to level 60 is not a big deal. And it's what you do after level 60, quickly making yourself strong enough to clear Torment 1, and then unlocking Torment 1, and also progressing forward. So briefly talking about what to do after you reach level 60 and after reaching Torment 1. So firstly, after level 60, you should be considering changing your difficulty to hard or painted. And then what you want to do is you want to be imprinting, tempering your gears briefly, equipping your ruins, and also basic min and max of the gears. You can be finding additional gears through the Nightmare dungeons and also finding a few glyphs. You don't really have to level as much, simply by getting some decent gears, especially a high level weapon with decent damage is enough. And then focus on upgrading and also tempering this weapon. Now, what you want to do after that is to clear the pit from pit 1 to pit 10. And this will unlock tier 1 difficulty or Torment 1 difficulty for Diablo 4 at pit 10. Once you clear pit 10, this should automatically unlock. After that, using the same method of looking for group or looking for groups of friends to clear the bosses for unique jobs is the best way to get the next power up. During this time, it is recommended to follow at least an A rank or S rank build. Because the game has been designed to be a little harder this season, it is the best that we focus on stronger build. Finding key uniques by killing bosses, and then getting stronger gears, and also repeating the process of upgrading gears, finding your key ruins, and then getting your boss powers for Torment 1 to Torment 4 all the way to the highest level. During this time, don't forget to kill the world boss or other events during your breaks, especially the timing events. Collecting the shards from the Hell Tide or killing the world boss can also be quite rewarding because it is time-based. I know this seems a little short as a summary, but this is pretty much what most players do for Diablo 4 during the time for the mid stage of the game. And of course, I'll be updating you guys with my build in terms of a Necromancer Summoner minion build as for leveling and also for reaching Torment 1 all the way up to Torment 4. So on the topic of the leveling build, we do have a number of tier lists and also builder's guide that is available that we can go through this. But to save you guys some time to go through all the A tier and also S tier, I have summarized this in pretty much 6 or 8 different builds. And I'll be adding the links and also the builder's guide available for you guys to have a look. So briefly have a look what are the best leveling build for each of the class. So in terms of the rogue, it is highly recommended in Season 8 to consider Dance of Knives. It is a very fast leveling build with great AoE clear, and it is very mobile. At the same time, as for the rogue, the flurry rogue is also great. This is a traditional flurry core skill attack rogue, but because of the Dance of Knives rogue is much more smoother, I'm actually recommending going with Dance of Knives for rogues in terms of leveling. Now in terms of the Spirit Bomb, you can go with Crow Volley. The Crow Volley Spirit Bomb is a staple in the Spirit Bomb, and because in the endgame you also use Crow Volley for the endgame, you pretty much have a very smooth transition all the way to the endgame in terms of leveling for the Spirit Bomb. Now in terms of the minion build for Necromancer, well, the minions are always great. Necromancer is built to have tons of minions, and at the moment, the Necromancer is considered to be one of the strongest endgame class, and also with abilities with Bone Necro, with Blood Necro, and also potentially with Minion Necro. Minion Necro can transition into any of the endgame build that is available, or you can stick with minions all the way to tier 4 difficulty, and that's what I'm planning to do, to make Necromancer great again. So yes, personally, I'll start leveling as a Minion Necromancer. After this, there's a number of Barbarian build, simply because Barbarian have been getting a little bit of buffs with the Whirlwind. There is the leveling build coming from Rob with the Whirlwind Barbarian, of course. And similarly, there's the Upheaval Barbarian. There's also the Earthquake Barbarian that can also be used as leveling, but most players will consider using Whirlwind or maybe Upheaval. It is also possible to use Hotter Barbarian as well, which can also work. After that, there's also the Paralyzed Druid. It is again a stable in leveling for the Druid, and there's a variety of different setups for the Paralyzed Druid. It uses a similar combination, and it will help you progress all the way to level 60 and then unlocking tier 1 difficulty. And finally, we have the sources. It is recommended to go with the Firewall sources, and this can be in a variety of combinations together with the Hydra sources. So the Firewall Hydra sources is some of the best ways of leveling for the sources. Now again guys, if you guys do want, I'll be having a focused build guide, but I think at the moment there's a lot of popular build guide that is out there, so I thought I'd just give you guys a quick rundown of the best leveling build for each of the class. On the future videos, as I'm leveling with Necromancer, I'll be updating you guys with the unique choices, legendary choices, and what are the best ways of leveling the Necromancer. And that is my plan. If you have seen our previous video, I have been looking into whether I want to play the Necro or whether I want to play the Spiritborn. And because I have become a big fan of summoners coming from Path of Exile 2, coming from last epoch, I was like, hey, why don't we do summoners again and play Necromancer? So yes, that is my plan, and let me know in the comments guys, what class and what build are you planning to play, and if you are playing the Necromancer, we're gonna have a great time making Necromancer all the way to pit 100 at least for Season 8 on Diablo 4. Now hopefully you guys found today's video helpful. Again, a big thank you to everyone on YouTube, especially our supporters, and also those of you guys who's been supporting me on Patreon as well. And we do have a new feature on the Mattjestic YouTube channel. If you click onto this, you can become a member. Yes, I've added this just recently, and this will allow you to have early access to videos that is posted a few hours or even half a day earlier if you want to watch those videos a little early. But yes, this will cost money. So please be aware the membership will cost money. And if you do want to watch videos normally, those videos will still be available after 6 to 12 hours, normally on the time we post those videos. And I'll be aiming to post at least one Path of Exile video a day, and this will be including guides, tips, news update, and also the latest tricks that is discovered on both the English and also Chinese community to keep you guys updated. And if you like those videos, make sure you leave a nice comment and also leave a like for those videos.